Welcome to Celebrate a Sister podcast. I'm your host, Emma Walkinshaw. I'm a transformational coach. I'm also the founder of Embody Me program and the creator of 21 Minutes of Morning Magic. You may also find me on the yoga mat leading yoga sessions and also running retreats here in Australia and internationally. Here on the podcast, I bring you some pretty incredible guests. We talk all things self-belief, body acceptance, personal development, outdated beauty standards, and we also call BS on the toxic diet culture, accepting the beautiful bodies we were born into, letting go of all the beliefs, and raising our self-awareness. I also come to you from time to time with a little solo episode, a little Life According to Emma moment. I'm so glad you're here. Enjoy. Are you ready to break free from the chains of diet culture and step into a life filled with confidence? I am so excited to introduce to you Body Love Bootcamp. This course designed to help you reject toxic beauty standards and embrace the powerful, confident woman that you are. Join the waitlist now to be the first to transform your relationship with your body. It's time to move from self-loathing to self-love. Sign up today. There is a link in the show notes and you'll be the first to hear once Body Love Bootcamp is out into the world, and it's coming very soon. A big warm welcome to Celebrate a Sister podcast. This week, I'm absolutely delighted and honoured to have Brigit Esselmont join me. I'm not even going to hide my fangirl. I'm absolutely delighted she's here. So let me tell you a little bit about Brigit. So Brigit is a professional tarot reader, trusted teacher, intuitive coach, spiritual entrepreneur, and the author of the best-selling book and deck, Everyday Tarot. For the past 2 decades, Brigit has provided tarot readings to thousands of individuals. Since 2013, she has educated over 5,300 students through her course, Master Tarot Card Meanings, aimed at helping visionaries like you learn tarot and connect with their intuition. Her mission is to uplift seeking souls with easy to follow and proven courses, enabling them to tap into the magic of unlimited access to their inner wisdom. Welcome, Brigit.
Oh, thank you. It's great to connect and chat.
So wonderful. I just mentioned, so for all of our listeners, I just mentioned to Brigit off air that I have been following her for a very long time and was absolutely delighted when she said yes to join us here. And you have got an upcoming book, which I cannot wait to chat about. But I did want to jump straight in and ask you, how has tarot and intuition led to a major breakthrough in your own life?
Yeah, I think my entire adult life has been defined by using tarot and connecting in with my intuition. I started my career with 15 years actually in corporate life. So I went through university, I got a master's degree in HR, and really enjoyed that time of being in corporate. And there was a time though, near the end, where I started to feel I think there's something more. There's more than just what I'm experiencing here with, going into a 9-to-5 job and doing what I'm told and working my way up the career ladder and so on. And I really feel like that was my intuition calling me and saying, Brigit, you're ready to expand. You're ready to expand those wings and step into something else. So in 2012, I made the decision to step away from my corporate career and go and become a tarot reader. Why not? And I remember at that time, everyone was just like, oh, are you crazy? Why would you leave, a successful corporate career to go and read tarot? But there was something so deep within me that was going, you know what, there's something so much more here, so much more potential. I don't know what it is yet, but my intuition is just saying, just go for it, just say yes. And I did all my sums. I made sure that I had enough money to cover me and I was earning enough and so on. And I made that leap. And, from that time, I've not looked back. And so really tarot and intuition have helped me continue to expand into who I am now and to continue to say yes to opportunities that may not make sense in the moment, and yet have that resounding feeling of like, oh, just go for it. You're like, but how's that going to fit with that? And then how's that going to come in here? It's like, no, forget all of that. Just go with it. Just trust. And then you see it, in a year's time, 3 years time. It's like, wow, thank goodness I said yes to those opportunities, because now they're coming together in like an amplified way. So for me, that's looked like, traveling to Spain with my family for 6 months at a time. My business is now, generating $3 million a year. Like, it's thriving, it's growing. And even I'm already starting to feel another evolution of the work that I offer in the world and how I impact and lead from that place. So it's like just constantly in my life, just helping me expand and tap into that potential.
Yeah, that is truly incredible. What a leap of faith. That is really backing yourself. And really, when you know what you know, that deep, I call it yak, you always know, that deep yak in you that said, I did a master's degree. I invested all of this time and energy into a degree, got into a corporate, and then went. And I can only imagine when you shared with your family and friends, I'm going to be a tarot reader. What was their reaction?
Well, my mum was a bit cautious. I'm sure in her head she was thinking, oh, I'm very disappointed. She was kind of trying to understand, why would you throw away, 15 years of like hard work and so on. And I was sort of thinking like, yeah, why would I do that? That's probably not such a good idea. But, I don't know, inherently I knew. And I like literally fast forward, 7, 8 years after that, at the peak, I had a team of 30 people with Biddy Tarot, and now we have about 15. It's a lot more manageable like that. But then I was like, that's interesting. All of this HR experience, human resources, is now coming back full circle. And I'm just doing it in a different reality over here. It's uncanny, really, how we almost like place these stepping stones in our life, and they show up again later on, but in this more evolved version of themselves.
Yeah. I agree. And it's being brave enough, exactly like you're talking, what you did, being brave enough to say yes, and almost just having that absolute blind faith, knowing that I can probably only see the next stepping stone, but I know that it's leading down a path, and everything I've done in my life, I know that I've got the tools, the skill, and the nous to go for it. Incredible. Yeah. Can you imagine if you had have stayed in your role and didn't answer that calling? Yeah. Listeners can't see Brigit's face, but we just had a very disappointed face, a very boring face. So even that example of, time with your family in Spain for 6 months, if you had stayed in your role, in your corporate role, I'm guessing that potentially you might have got to Spain, but it certainly wouldn't have been for 6 months. It might have been for 2 weeks.
Yeah. And I remember those, like the final sort of year or so in corporate, because I would go to work and I could feel myself looking around going, what am I doing here? And why are these people still working in this environment? And I was having bad thoughts about my colleagues, are they so deluded that they think this is like a normal place to work? And I thought, I don't want to be having these bad thoughts about other people. And I just realized, what I'm feeling and sensing and seeing is just all the signs that are telling me this is out of alignment for me. It's probably so in alignment for other people, but I'm projecting that onto others. And what it's really trying to show me is time's up, Brigit. You got to get out of here. You've got something else that's waiting for you.
Yeah, that's actually probably a great little clue when we are looking outside of ourselves and starting to criticize other people. It's always about us, isn't it? So like you say, they were in alignment. I mean, they're probably incredibly happy and perfectly bipping along in life. It just wasn't your journey. And it's just taking that and saying, okay, this is mine, not theirs. So so any of our listeners, that's a great little, I guess, signpost.
Isn't it? Talking about the intuition, love. I am a lover of tarot. Like I learnt my first tarot course when I was 21. I did a course at Local Woman and I've just used them my whole life. And my nana told me a story. So my nana's passed away. She was 93 and she passed 5 years ago. And my nana, a very strong Catholic, grew up in Glasgow. Her auntie and uncle owned a general store. And she said every Friday night she would go and visit her auntie and uncle. And behind their store was a convent where all the nuns lived. So my Nana was very Catholic. And when I started reading the tarot cards, I said, come on, Nana, let me read your cards. And she said, I know about the cards. I said, how do you know? And she said, well, she said, the general store my auntie and uncle owned, on a Friday night, we would finish. And she said, my uncle who owned the store, he was actually gay, but they didn't kind of talk about it back then. She said, we'd go behind after the store shut to the nuns. And he was a great piano player. He would play the piano and sing. They'd drink scotch and the nuns would do tarot cards. I said, are you kidding me? She said, I am not. She said, they used to all do each other's cards. The Catholic convent in Glasgow.
I love it.
And I actually had the opportunity. I'm about to go on the 5th of September back to Scotland. I went last year and I stood on the street where my grandparents met and where the store was. The convent isn't there. It's changed now, but just remembering that. So I think about this ancient art of reading tarot. The nuns my Nana was born in 1921. So this would have been in the 30s. So in the 1930s, this was happening.
Wow.
Unbelievable, huh? So Nana knew all about them and went to church every Sunday, but loved to have her cards read. So joyful. So I do want to ask Brigit, so what are some of the common misconceptions about tarot and can you dispel them? How can we learn to trust our intuition more deeply?
Yeah, see, this is an interesting, we're talking about like Catholic nuns reading tarot. Yeah. Because we would think like, oh, that's so poles apart, like it's so separate. But where tarot originates from is actually from a lot of like religions. And when you look at cards, some of the cards in particular depict these very religious scenes. So the Lover's card is very much the Garden of Eden. When I was in Spain in some of the cathedrals, I saw like the death card pretty much up on the walls, the judgment card of the big archangel calling people up out of their graves. And when tarot was really being created, it was being created at a time when people were illiterate. And so they would use pictures to show these religious lessons. And there's just a huge amount of Christian symbolism actually in the cards. And yes, there's, even Jewish like Kabbalah in the tarot. There's also pagan. There's many different religions and spirituality as part of tarot. So we kind of have this misconception that tarot is like shameful or naughty, or like if you're religious, you couldn't possibly read tarot. But there's actually a really strong link between the two. The other things with tarot is, just earlier this year, there's a movie that came out. It was called Tarot, and it's this horror movie. And I saw the trailer, and it's like people are pulling the cards, the death card, and then the clock strikes midnight and someone dies and there's blood and guts everywhere. And it's like, come on, really? Like in this day and age, why do we still continue to have this like evil layer to tarot? Because it's so far from the truth of how we actually use tarot in the modern day. And I think it's a little bit of a hangover of, this whole concept of pushing intuition down and denying ourselves from trusting our inner wisdom. And from centuries ago, when women in particular were persecuted for trusting inner wisdom, for working with plants and herbs and so on. And I think we're really in a time where we're starting to shift that mindset and reawaken this part of ourselves. It's always been there. It's just been suppressed for whatever reason. And we're now reclaiming our power, and we're now tapping into these intuitive tools like tarot so that we can go, I am the source of all the information I need and the wisdom that I need. I don't have to keep going and seeking it outside of me. I don't have to conform to an institution, but I can actually trust what I already know within myself. So yeah, I think it's so interesting just to keep challenging those misperceptions, or when someone has a particular point of view about tarot or a limiting belief and go, well, why is that? And what's really under that? And what is this new version of tarot that's coming out? And how are we reclaiming that part of ourselves that has really been our birthright? But we're only sort of reawakening that now.
Yes, I love that. You're absolutely right. It is a reframe of that old hangover of tarots are bad, but it's from, I guess you could say, that misconception or stories have been told when people actually probably haven't experienced and know that it's actually, it's a tool for self-coaching. Like you say, you can actually do a lot of self-inquiry with your tarot, which is so empowering and a great tool to tap into your intuition. Yeah, love that. So it is. And like you say, movies like that, I mean, it's for entertainment, but it's not, tarot is absolutely not that.
Yeah, but still, like, it's just a bit insidious. I get frustrated with it because it's still, you still see tarot portrayed in movies and TV shows, which is in this evil way, which in my mind is still trying to indoctrinate us to not trust our inner wisdom, to see all of these intuitive things as evil. And like, I'm just sick of it, And I think we need to just call BS on it and say, nah, enough is enough. And even if you think of, like, say, the word witch and how that's being reclaimed and moving away from the witch as the evil woman in her little house and so on, now to like, well, actually that is just us being able to step into our womanhood and trusting our intuition and so on. So there's this whole reclaiming that's happening and redefining, which I think is really empowering.
Yeah, there's probably many layers to that, isn't there, around the feminism and keeping the woman small. And another way to outcast her, another way to tell her she's wrong. Yeah, there's many layers to that, isn't there?
Yes.
Yeah. Yep. So and this is why your work is so wonderful and so important, because it shows the lighter and the empowered side of tarot and how you can use that in your business, relationships, life to tap into that intuition. Brilliant. Yeah. I do want to ask, can you share a time when following your intuition led you to an unexpected but profound outcome?
Oh, it happens every day. But even if I just think, earlier we were talking about basically following breadcrumbs. And so even though you don't know at the time, it starts to come together. And even maybe about 18 months ago, I don't know, I wanted to learn about how to make sacred, like, cacao, the beautiful drink. And I started looking online, like, okay, how do I figure out how to do cacao ceremony and drink cacao and so on? And eventually I landed on a course. It was 3 months and this whole apprenticeship. And I could feel myself being drawn to it. I'm like, why would I do that? I don't do local workshops. I'm probably not going to run a cacao ceremony. But I really want to do it. So I just ended up doing it. And it ended up being just such a profound experience to learn more about ceremony, and then also to learn about the Andean lineage, so in Peru, and just the whole philosophy that they hold there is just so profound. But anyway, even just after doing that, it opened up a whole new world. And then I was like, oh, okay. Then I found myself doing a 12-month medicine woman apprenticeship with these same teachers. And I'm like, oh, why am I doing this? Like, I'm not really going to do blah, blah, blah. But just following that call every time. And it's not all woven together yet, but I'm already seeing it when I'm holding workshops with my tarot group. I'm moving away from just teaching tarot and also moving into, we do moon manifesting workshops. And so we hold ceremony to really honor that cycle of the moon, using tarot cards along the way. And then I can start to integrate, there's a bit of the cacao ceremony comes into that, some of the other things that I've been learning throughout this apprenticeship. And I can already see how else it can open up into retreats and new certifications that I'm growing. So I just really believe in that sometimes, we have to say yes to things that don't necessarily make sense in that moment. Yeah. But over time, you start to see all of these little dots, they start to connect themselves and that's why I did that. Or, that's why. Now it comes together as a whole.
Yes. Yeah. Because intuition, then the bursts of creativity that come from these experiences, I find that's a beautiful thing. Exactly what you're saying. You do things you don't know why, but then creativity and just flow comes from it. And sometimes just for the pure joy too is wonderful, isn't it? It doesn't have to, in this moment, have an outcome. It can be just for the pure joy.
Yes. And that to me is this is the harmonization of the divine feminine energy, which is that, creativity, joy, intuition, things being cyclical, with that divine masculine, which is more linear and, forward moving and so on. I think when the two of those come together, that's when things really hum. And I think though we've been trained or indoctrinated to think that the only way is on the masculine side of go from point A to point B and apply your logic, do things that make sense. No, have a plan instead of just do that first step and see what happens next, right? So it's this kind of blending together and reclaiming that intuition again.
Yes, yeah. The feminine says, "I'll do the cacao ceremony and the apprenticeship for the pure joy because this is wonderful and I feel called." Whereas the masculine energy says, "But why? Where's it leading? And what's the outcome?"
Yeah, which is exactly what my husband said. He's like, "Why are you doing this training?" I'm like, "I don't know why, but I know I just have to do it."
Yes, and that's the beautiful dance, isn't it? In relationship or in ourselves, that's the dance.
Yeah.
Wonderful. So can you tell us more about, because I'm assuming I'm going to make an assumption here that perhaps your intuitive manifesting, your book that is about to come out in October, has this also ignited that and spurred on the creativity around this new book that you're giving birth to?
Yeah, well, this is another one of those breadcrumbs because where it all initiated from was I needed to create a 1-hour masterclass for our community membership. I'm like, what could I create it on? Do something about manifesting with tarot. Great. So I start working on that. That quickly expanded into a 6-week course because I think all this great content for one masterclass. I think this can be a whole course. So I started creating an intuitive manifesting course, not really knowing why, but it was just flowing so quickly and easily. And then, my book publishers reached out and they said, we'd love for you to write another book. And I'm like, writing is hard. I don't know that I really want to write too much. And then I thought, I've just created this body of work with intuitive manifesting. What if I turn that into a book? And so that actually came through very easily. And what was beautiful, again, I was like, why am I doing intuitive manifesting? And what I realized was, as I was developing this body of work, that this is actually everything that underpins my philosophy on tarot. So again, going back to misconceptions, we often think of tarot as a fortune telling tool. Tell me what my future is, see into the, what's happening to me. And it's actually a very passive way of looking at things, and it almost gives your power away when you're like, just tell me what's going to happen to me, right? And so I'm all about reclaiming your power and being able to manifest your future instead of just predict it. Why not create it? And so when I read tarot, it's very much about how do I use, this intuitive tool to create the outcomes that I most desire. And then I was like, everything I'm creating around intuitive manifesting, this 4-step intuitive manifesting method, is actually what happens in a profound transformative tarot reading. And so it's already starting to really blend together and potentially turn into a new certification program that we can do with how you can use tarot in this way. But also, I really just want to be able to reach as many people as possible, because I think this whole idea of being able to create your future and then to use such a profound tool like tarot to do that is massive. Because here's the thing, when you get into manifesting, if you just are trying to manifest what I think I should manifest, or what's on Instagram, what's going to look nice on my vision board, you're kind of off track. It loses its, soul and its purpose. But if you can use tarot and other intuitive tools to connect you to what is in your highest good, what is your soul's mission here for you to really bring into manifestation, then you start to create things that have much bigger, long-lasting impacts, and that feel so much more aligned. So again, something like tarot can help you just stay in that space of alignment as you are creating things.
Yes. I cannot wait to read this book. So it's a 4-step manifesting process. And it sounds like it is an evolution of the work that you've done. It's now the next logical step, using tarot as manifest. I know exactly what you mean. A lot of people think of tarot as you give your power away, someone tell me what's going to happen, when manifesting is really about being empowered. And like you say, it's not just a pretty vision board. It's actually tapping in, how do I want to feel? Because how many times do we put things on the vision board? And I'll speak from experience, put things on the vision board, get it, and then go, okay, tick.
Yeah.
It's actually, you actually embody it. When you actually hit that goal, or if we want to call it goal, or we manifest that thing, it's a full embodiment.
Mm.
And like you say, it's almost another stepping stone to your evolution. It's so connected. You feel deeply connected, and there is that sense of satisfaction and high that you go, gosh, look what I created. Look what I did.
Yes.
That's the feeling.
Yes. And so, yeah, one of the steps, like the very first step, is about picturing your perfect future. And yes, most manifestation methods will have you go into what do you really desire and create that into intentions. And so you go, great, I've got a goal. This is what I want to achieve. But I had this other layer to it, which is to go, all right, you think that's your goal. Awesome. First step. Now, what's actually the highest version of this goal? So an example of this is way back, I don't know, like 2016. I really wanted to grow the business. And so I set out some financial goals, and I was like, I wanted to get to like 500,000 would be amazing. And I thought, okay, well, why don't I check in with my tarot cards if that's actually in alignment? So I said, okay, tarot, what might I experience if I stay at the same revenue? And I think maybe it was about 250,000 then. What might I experience if I did 500K? And what if I go really big and I went for 1 million? And so I pull the cards thinking like, oh yeah, let's go big, right? Because that's the hustle culture that people have you believing like you should always go bigger, 10x, whatever. Yeah. But I pulled the cards and it said, okay, if you really strive for 1 million, you're going to end up feeling off track. You're not going to be disconnected from family, from, that work-life balance. If you just try and stay the same, it'll be boring for you. It's not very interesting. And then I think it was something like about the Queen of Wands, which is this beautiful energy of like, just got it all together, feeling good. And that was that at the 500K. And so that really helped me like calibrate, going beyond just what I think is the right goal, but what do I feel? What is actually in this whole system the right goal, not just for me, but for all those involved as well? Because we are always operating in a much more complex, holistic system. And we've got to make sure that we're making these decisions of what we're trying to achieve in that holistic perspective.
Yeah. I love that. So first step, picture it, but then almost using the cards to test it. It sounds like almost like you test it, you feel into it and say, if I stayed here, feel into it, boring. The extreme was, it sounds like it's going to be at a cost. Are you okay with that? Family balance. But then here, Queen of Wands, that beautiful energy. And I'm visualing the Queen of Wands, which is that feminine, but strength. She's got strength, yet she's feminine. She's, I don't want to use the word in control, but she's assertive, yet she's grounded. We're good.
Yeah.
That is great. So pitch the goal, then using the cards, you can really start to measure and feel that.
Yeah. And calibrate it, because don't buy into this idea that you always have to be going for the biggest goal. You don't, because our definitions of success are unique and individual to us. Yeah. And even, you actually verbalized it in a really interesting way, because you say, well, I could choose to go for the 1 million and, comes with the consequences. And that's exactly right. We always have choice. We can choose whatever we want, but let's understand what are the consequences of making that choice, and then come at it from that empowered place of I've signed up for this and I know what it entails, and I'm willing to accept that, or I'm not willing to accept it and I'll go for something else.
Yeah. And calibration, that is also a great feeling. Jumping from, let's say, that great example, 250 to 1 million, the calibration potentially could be a little bit off. We like to think we can go from 0 to 10, and there are unicorns that do this in the world. However, I do also know that it takes 10 years to be an overnight success because there has to be a calibration, right?
Yeah.
And on a soul level, that's when we get the wobbles. Well, I'm going to speak from my experience. If this notion of 10x, hustle, push, go, 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 great. However, the fallout could be nervous system, you get the wobbles. And I'm one of ease and joy and pleasure, as well as my definition of success. But we also want to have a nice ride without health issues and relationship fallouts and all of that in between. So calibrating and integrating, almost like calibration integration for me sounds like that's the feeling of that.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what, this I'm now going to lean into the next step, because this is around like the becoming an energetic match to what it is that you desire. And this I've found is absolutely huge, because oftentimes we go like, oh, what's the goal? Great. Okay, now what's my action plan? How do I start making it happen? So that's kind of one level of manifesting. But what I've realized, if you do before you be, you end up you're operating out of your old operating system, the way of thinking. If you aspire to something very different, you've actually got to be, then do. You've got to be the person that you need to be to achieve that goal, and then start taking the actions. And interestingly, this is when I was, when I finally did have a goal of reaching the 1 million, I thought, okay, great. I've got to go and read all the strategies. I read all the books. I listened to the podcast. I did all the things. And it just was like pushing uphill constantly. I was trying so hard to do the right things because I hadn't become yet, right? And I was like, hang on a sec, I think I'm doing this in the wrong order. So I stopped, and then I asked myself just a very simple question. And it was like, what would $1 million CEO do, right now? And I stepped into that mindset of like, what does it feel like to be $1 million CEO? Oh, okay. Would $1 million CEO be, responding to customer emails and be the only person on the help desk? No, she would not be doing that. And so even like that prompted me to go, okay, I think I need to have a help desk. And I set up a help desk. There were many other things, like even pricing my programs and how I would show up and where I would show up. And once I stepped into that being state, then all of the doing was so much easier. I didn't have to even think about it. It just happened. And literally getting to that goal of $1 million happened within 6 months' time. Like, it was so quick, because I finally had cracked that code of like, oh, I've got to be, then do, not the other way around. And so something that I share, like in intuitive manifesting, is really that whole idea of stepping into who you need to be, like the future self. And the cool thing is you can actually use tarot to do this, right? Because let's say you go, oh, I really need to be courageous and have inner strength. Well, there's a card in the tarot called Strength, and you can use this card as like a guide or an archetype to go, all right, you look at the card and you step into that card and you feel the essence of that card. And then you're in that being state, and then you can start to do from that place. So there's some really beautiful ways of using tarot to kind of elicit that state of the desired state, such that all of the activities flow from there so much more easily and effortlessly.
I love that. So we almost then take that card and take on that persona. And that beautiful example, when you realized I had to become, and asking yourself that great question, what would $1 million CEO do today? What would she do today? That's just such a great incremental shift of, instead of just wanting it and then ferreting away doing the same thing every day. So what if we were to, was Strength your card? Would you say Strength? Because I've got the vision of the Strength card.
Oh, I don't know what I would have had for that time. It was probably even, like a 9 of Pentacles. So 9 of Pentacles is very much that abundance and, being able to enjoy everything that you've got and to feel that ease and flow, rather than the kind of like, oh, but I'm not $1 million yet, right? The gap. I was like, oh no, what if I felt into the abundance of already being $1 million CEO and coming from that energy?
And even I've got the visual of that Nine of Pentacles too.
Yeah.
Yeah, beautiful, with all those little coins and just looking at them going, yes, look what I've created.
Yeah.
Yes. And there's more where that came from.
Yeah.
Yes, I love the tarot. And then each day, leaning into that card, reading about it, embodying it. And I like each day, I stand out by the ocean. I say, universe, God, what will you have me do today? Where will you have me go? Who will you have me speak to?
I love
But
it.
then I love that I can take my card now, and today I'm going to embody strength, or Queen of Wands, or Nine of Pentacles. Today, this is what I'm going to embody. This is who I'm going to show up as. This.
Yeah. That's it. And I say to like my clients, don't work on your business until you've stepped into that future self. Because it's like, let's say with your phone, if you try and install an app, but you haven't updated your iOS or whatever, it doesn't work the way it should. And you're operating off this old system. So you've got to upgrade the whole system first, and then you can put in these apps and do the things you want to do. And so again, if we're operating from an old operating model, we'll just keep running up, like the same programs will keep running, and we hit the same problems. Nothing can change from that space. We have to upgrade our own system first. And yeah, I particularly love the tarot because, like, let's say, I don't know, this is one of my favorites, the High Priestess, right? So let's say if she was your guide, you can start to interact now more with this card and go, all right, High Priestess, what is your advice for me today? Or you might look at the symbolism and go, okay, I'm really drawn to this scroll that's sitting in her lap. Oh, maybe I've already got the resources and the knowledge and the wisdom that I need. If I was to open that scroll, what would the answer be that I'm looking for? Like you can play with it a little bit more in this way.
And that's inviting the intuition to answer you. It's an invitation from the intuition. I'm asking this great question. And when we ask great questions through the tarot, that's when it gets to speak to us.
Yes.
I love that.
And this is the wonderful thing about tarot. It's very rich in its symbolism. So it comes from like a collective wisdom from many centuries. And it's visual, right? So you can see a picture. And what this does on a mind level, it helps us bypass that conscious mind, the thinking, the analyzing, and so on. And the symbols and the pictures start to drop us back into our subconscious and our more intuitive sense. So a lot of people think you've got to be intuitive to read the tarot, but I actually think it goes the other way. Like, you read the tarot, you become more intuitive. It's kind of nice.
Yeah, I agree, because it's a tool for you to drop in. And I guess even you saying there, the visual. So even if we think of the five senses, to tap into the sixth sense, it's eyes, ears, the touch of the cards. It's evoking the senses for the third eye to open, or however you explain it, for that sixth sense to come in. But that's right, the cards they are a full experience, sensual experience, all the senses.
Yeah. Love it.
Love the cards. Now, I do want to ask, Brigit, before we wrap up, what advice would you give someone who's just beginning their journey with tarot and intuitive manifesting?
Yeah, well, use tarot for intuitive manifesting. You're on the right track. That's a good thing. And what that can look like is just, get a deck that you feel connected with, and just pull a card every day. And you can just ask what energy do I need to tap into for the day? What do I need to know for today? It could even be, what's that one step I can take to bring me closer to my goals? You can really play with different questions, and just pull the card. And here's the thing, you don't have to be like a master at tarot. You don't have to have read it for decades. The wonderful thing is that they've got nice pictures that are quite easy to look at and interpret. And you can always jump online and look up, what does the card mean? Obviously go do that at biddytarot.com. And yeah, it's just, you can just get started, because it's that time, doing it every day just gives you 5 minutes to drop in and go, how am I feeling in this moment? What's alive for me? What's important to me right now? And it's that the practice of dropping into our own intuition. That alone, whether you actually are interpreting the cards right or wrong, whatever, that doesn't matter. It's actually the practice of you listening into intuition and going, okay, what do I need to do today? That's so much more empowering. And that's what helps you manifest the things that you really desire. So yeah, just get started. Card a day. Super easy.
Brilliant. And I personally, for our listeners, they can't see, but I know our ladies online will. I personally love the size of the little mini deck for traveling.
Yeah,
when you go away, so good. The book's in there. So definitely check out Brigit's Bitty Tarot, and I'll have all the links in the show notes and the incredible courses you've got and your books. I mean, books, cards, great way to learn. It's a beautiful little self-study. But if you like to join the course too, that's also fab, because community too is wonderful. Getting with like-minded people. I think that's the power when you have a love of manifesting, growing your intuition. Tarot is a great way to grow your intuition without a doubt.
Yes.
So wonderful.
Yeah.
Brigit, I want to say thank you. I have absolutely loved our conversation, and thank you for taking this time. It's an absolute pleasure and honor to have you on the podcast.
Oh, it's been an absolute joy. And of course, I would love to just share with your audience where they can get the Intuitive Manifesting book. So at the moment, it's on pre-order. It gets launched on October 22nd. And if you go to bittytarot.com/pre-order, and you can get the book from there. And then we also have a special download. So if you want to learn more about the 4 steps of intuitive manifesting, it's super easy just to start, practicing these 4 steps. You can get that over at bittytarot.com/4 steps. And yeah, you can start intuitive manifesting straight away, get your tarot cards out, make things happen.
So good. And I'll put all of those links in the show notes so everyone can just click away, but definitely head over to Bitty Tarot. Thank you, Brigit.
All right. Thank you. Appreciate it.